There's your tiny little piston and your tiny little connecting rod. So today's video is going to be a little bit different than the standard videos that I put out. You'll notice, first of all, that I'm in my own garage, not up at my dad's shop, and sitting on the table right behind me is an old pony motor from a John Deere 720. Let me show you what I got. So half disassembled sitting on this table is this pony motor from that 720. And if you look right here, there's a slight problem right there and right there. 2 of the 4 pistons are not doing the piston thing. The rods have broken. And so that's why this pony motor was taken out of commission, is due to that. Our friend who gave me this pony motor, he decided rather than trying to fix this, he would just go ahead and convert the tractor to electric start. So that's what he did. And he put this in storage, and he was actually getting ready to take it to the dump and get rid of it. But he called me and he said, "Hey, do you know if anybody wants a pony motor for a John Deere?" And it was the exact same week that I had bought my 830. So I said, "Yeah, no, actually, I would love to have it. I don't know what the tractor that I'm getting, I don't know what the state of the pony motor is going to be, but I would love to have this as, you know, to be a spare if I needed some spare parts, or even just to mess around with it and learn and familiarize myself with these pony motors." I've never worked with one of these 4-cylinder pony motors. I've been around a couple of the R pony motors, but really never internally. I haven't really had the opportunity to dig into them. And as I've looked on YouTube, there's really not a lot of videos talking about the disassembly or showing one of these engines completely torn apart. So it's kind of what I want to do here, is just provide a video for anybody else out there who may just be curious how these little V4 pony motors operate or what they look like inside, or if you need to go about rebuilding one. As you can see, it's already partially disassembled. My goal right now is to continue disassembling it. I don't know if I'm going to take apart, this is the clutch mechanism, this is the gear right here that slides in. It's a little bit sticky, but this is the gear that slides in and engages with the flywheel. So I don't know if I'm going to take this apart right away, but for sure I do want to pull the engine right here, get that all apart, get these broken rods pulled out of these 2 pistons, whichever the pistons are. Which are the ones? Oh, yeah, this one and that one. Get those pistons pulled out, get the broken rods out of there, and then I'm just gonna lay it out, look at everything, see how it works, and then we're gonna put it back together in its broken state, just to keep everything together. I don't want stuff getting lost, and then I can probably just shove it kind of over here, kind of back there under my workbench, until one day, if I ever need it, I have it. Because the problem is I really don't know what that pony motor on my 830 is going to look like. I did get the big diesel engine running last week, so my next task is going to be to go up and see if I can get the pony motor going, but I don't know what I'm going to find. So this is kind of like plan B if I do need to rebuild an engine. I've got 1.5, 1 3/4 engines that I could potentially look at rebuilding, maybe pick through the best parts and get something in the end that's functional. So I'm hoping that I don't need to rebuild my 830's pony motor. I've heard that these are very pricey to rebuild, but I got a pretty good deal on the tractor itself. So even if I do have to sink a little bit of money into the pony motor, I'll be fine. I'll still be coming out ahead. And just the fact that I got the diesel running last week, I think, and it seemed like it was running pretty good, then, I don't think I'll need to do anything, hopefully, to that engine. So I'll get my tripod set up now, and let's start tearing this thing apart. Well, before I started to tear into the engine right here, I figured I better take an inventory of all of the parts that I had that were sitting in this tin can. And this is what I've got, and I think I can make sense of most of it. Basically all of this was just loose down in the bottom of that can, but I found I've got 4 rocker arms right here and 4 rocker arms over here. I found all of these bolts. I figure that they are probably, there's 12 of these bolts right here and here. These must be for the valve covers. Valve covers were in there. This right here must sit right over here, over the camshaft, and down here. I found these. These look like they are the shafts that the rocker arms ride on. And then I found all of these, and I thought, what in the world are all of these guys? I couldn't make sense of it. And then it dawned on me, these are all the push rods. I've never seen push rods that are so small. And sure enough, I've got 8 push rods right here, and one of them, this one right here, is broken. And if you can see how bent that is, you see how bent that is. So that one's no good. But all the rest of them are all right here. You can see they must have hardened tips right there on either end to ride on the camshaft. And then right here, sure enough, on the rocker arms, there's that little pocket where the where the push rods sit. So anyway, this is really an interesting engine. Everything is just so miniature. I think it's 16 cubic inches is the total displacement of this thing. It's got a 2-inch bore and a 1.5-inch stroke. So do the math, whatever that is, per cylinder times 4. Obviously, I have the intake manifold right here. This right here is the water pump and some of the water lines. This is the clutch. I have 2 clutch discs, but I think this one is just a spare. You can see it doesn't have any lining on that other side. And this one right here actually has a lot of life left in it. Look at all of that friction material that's left there. So I'm guessing that someone at one point put a new clutch in this thing, and they just held on to the other one, and that's what that is. That's what I'm guessing. Got these springs. If you look here, so there's the clutch disc. This is the pressure plate. And this is kind of the housing that holds the pressure plate and the clutch onto the flywheel. The only thing that I couldn't figure out what it was, I've got this little bracket with a couple of screws. I'm assuming those screws go there. I'm not positive. I've got 7 little kind of machine type screws there, some washers, a broken piston connecting rod. So that's obvious where that goes. Don't know, this looks like some sort of shim pack or something. This, I think, is just goes up here on the governor. That's what this lever is, I think, is the governor, and it connects to the carburetor that sticks up here on top of the intake manifold. And then I've got a couple of bolts here. And honestly, this is a fine thread bolt. If you can see that. That's a fine thread bolt. I wouldn't be surprised if this doesn't even go to this engine. So anyway. So yeah, it seems like I've got everything except for there's no starter. And when I loaded this in my truck, I noticed that there wasn't a starter. And also we didn't have the distributor that goes on that. I have the cover, but none of the internals, which is a bummer because that would have been really nice to have, even just to play with. But I'm actually wondering if these screws right here go to the distributor. I don't know, and it's not too important. So with all of that cataloged, I think we're ready to start tearing into this. There's some dowel pins down here. I can tell. So there's my camshaft. Whoa, what's this? Whoa! There's ball bearings in there. Look at that. That's interesting. Let's put that back. Well, we'll just take those out. So this is all part of the governor. Right here on the cam gear, you can see very clearly there's a V right here. And it's always nice just to make sure that the timing marks on the camshaft and the crankshaft align, and they do. So that's reassuring. I just got this C-clip off. It took entirely too long. But now, probably take off that. There's a key right there. And this needs to be pulled. I can see some bolts right there. We got to put a flywheel puller in there. Okay, there's that gear. There's that key. Okay, now I'm going to move this down. Now let's take apart the oil pump drive. That was easy. So this right here, this spring, I'm guessing this is what regulates oil pressure for the pony motor. So if I take these screws out, there's probably a spring. I mean, you can see the spring, and then there's some sort of diaphragm or something on the other side of that. So let's see. I should use a bigger screwdriver, but this is working okay. So there's that spring. Oh, right here. This goes over that. So like I said, this is what regulates oil pressure. That spring and this little piece of flat. It's almost like shim stock, but that's your oil pressure regulator, I'm guessing. Okay. I do need to get this key out right here. Just a second. There. Okay, here's our oil pump. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can tap this oil pump housing out from the inside. There we go. Every now and then you get lucky. I got lucky right now. I needed to pull the cam gear off the camshaft, and it just so happened that I had a piece of aluminum over there. This is a piece to my magneto tester, and it just so happened that the holes that are drilled in this line up exactly with the holes in the cam gear. to go ahead and pull this off. So, and then I just wedged a piece of wood in here, and it's working really, really well. Got it. We should be able to get the camshaft out. Now this should just pull right out. Let's see. Something is holding it in place. Oh, lifters. The lifters are down. Oh, we're missing a lifter. Let me get those lifters out. You know how I said we were missing a piece of push rod? I just found it. Now we should be able to pull this right out. Okay, there's our camshaft. Oops. And that's actually in pretty good shape. None of these lobes are flat, so that's good. They all have lift. But some of them have less lift than others. But that might just be because some are exhaust and some are intake valves. But you can see this one right here has a lot of lift to it compared to this one right here. Not nearly as much. We can check that with a set of micrometers. But there's the old bump stick pulled out. So here we are, we're looking inside of the block. This is where the water pump goes. This is where the oil pump used to be, and you can see the very top of the oil screen right here. And right here and right here are the bottom. These are the connecting rods for two of the pistons. And if you look right here, let me move my light down there. You got to see how much slop there is. If I just rotate this, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see how much play there is with those connecting rods? There is no bearing left in this one right here. So this thing, there's no wonder that this thing threw rods. This thing was so loose. That's crazy. Maybe this will also help you see how much play there is in the connecting rod bearings. Let's see. So I'm reaching in to the bottom of the. Come on. There we go. That piston, that's all just slop on the connecting rod where it connects to the crankshaft. So this thing had a rod knock like crazy. I can only imagine what this thing sounded like right before it threw those two connecting rods. I just spent the last like 3 or 4 minutes trying to figure out how in the world I'm supposed to reach inside of the engine and disconnect the connecting rods. There's not space there. And then I thought, I bet there's an access panel on the bottom. And sure enough, there it is. The whole bottom of the engine right there. So I'm going to undo these and pop that off. Okay, look down inside here. We've got chunks of bearing. Oh, there's some more bearing. There's some more bearing. Man, this was not in good shape. Oh, here's some more chunks. Looks like a piece of connecting rod. So yeah. Let's move that oil screen out of the way, and then let's look up in the engine of the crankshaft. So that's the oil pump screen. That's not a very fine screen, but I guess it does keep big chunks like this piece of connecting rod from going into the oil pump. Okay, here we are up inside the engine. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to remove the bolts connecting these top two connecting rods. Okay, that's the last of the connecting rod bolts. There's no bearing material at all. It's just plain aluminum. There had to have been bearings in there. Had to have been. Oh, there we go. Let's pop these pistons out the top. There's your tiny little piston. And your tiny little connecting rod. There's the other one. Now they got numbers on them. This one's number 1. This one's number 3. Push this broken one up. Oh boy, that one's kind of stuck. Let me turn the engine over. Okay, there's one. This one has no connecting rod left at all, and you can see the skirt of this piston is all banged up. Yikes. Now this other one is really stuck in there. Jeez, it's really stuck in there. There it comes. Just about done. I can see, look at this. Do you see how the bottom of that sleeve right there is all broken and smashed up? So looks like the other ones are okay, but that one there. Now I've got this piston up here, and you can just see how chewed up the skirt of that piston is. Broken all the pieces right there. The connecting rod, you can see it just really chewed away at that. Well, that's going to do it for this video. We got the engine all torn apart. We saw the damage. We knew we were going to see broken connecting rods, but I was a little discouraged by seeing the damage to the bottom of the cylinder liners. So this is something that we'll have to address if we ever decide to rebuild this engine. For now, I think we've done enough today. And in the next video, we'll go ahead and we will probably just reassemble the engine. I'm probably going to take some measurements on the heights of the lobes. On the camshaft, I probably want to get that information known. And then other than that, we'll just put everything back together and then slide it under my workbench back here. And then it can just await a future date when either I need it or we'll rebuild it or someone else needs it. So until then, I appreciate everybody watching the videos. I enjoy making them, and so I hope that you guys enjoy watching them. Other than that, well, we'll talk to you next time.